Judicial Watch today filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Daily Caller for records pertaining to Dr. Anthony Fauci and the World Health Organization. The Department of Health and Human Services failed to respond to an April 1st FOIA request, Freedom of Information request, for communications Fauci had with WHO officials about the WHO in the early days of the Wuhan virus pandemic. Joining us tonight to take all of that up, Tom Fitton. He is the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, great to see you. And why do we need to know what Fauci was saying to the WHO?
Well, there are lots of reasons. First of all, it's a crisis that shut the country down, so we need to know the details of how it was handled by the government initially. But more importantly, what that corrupt agency, WHO, was telling our senior officials like Dr. Fauci, not only about coronavirus, but about China's connections to it. So we can't FOIA WHO, at least I don't think we can directly, but we can talk to or try to get documents from agencies that were talking to WHO, and that's why our client, Daily Caller News Foundation, was so smart to ask NIH for the materials. And what's troubling is they haven't given us the records. And transparency is urgent. The laws on transparency don't get revoked when an agency is busy. They need to follow the law here, and that's why we're in court.
Well, there are other agencies that have taken exactly that route and declared that they are too busy to follow the law, which is a stunning position for any government agency, whether it's the NIH or the Justice Department or FBI. You're experiencing, I guess, both at this particular point. What do you expect to find?
We're going to find the WHO is probably playing defense for China early on, mimicking or pushing out the narrative that China was pushing out early on. And if it misled Fauci, if it misled our top agency officials, there's got to be accountability for what went on, and we want to find the evidence here. We know what publicly was said. My guess is it was even worse privately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on this broadcast, in fact, Dr. Fauci in January and February was, if not being of great assistance to the WHO, he was certainly being supportive of their efforts and certainly not wanting to press too hard the need to use for American doctors to be able to go into Wuhan and visit that laboratory. He was very, I would say, accommodating at that point. We knew we were to learn later all that had transpired between the WHO and the Communist government of China. It's a troubling tale indeed of what the WHO did to align itself with the Communist Chinese government.
Well, Fauci, like Dr. Tedros, who's the head of WHO, you have to remember, at this level, all of these folks are colleagues. So you need a second set of eyes to look at the communications. Dr. Fauci was hearing it from his colleagues about what was going on with coronavirus, and he may not be the best judge to tell us what he was learning and what he should have known and what we should have known generally and acted upon. We need to do an audit of what happened with our U.S. government and what we were hearing with from WHO on behalf of China. It looks like they were a cutout for China, and I think these documents are going to show it. And Dr. Fauci admits, he says, look, I didn't recognize initially how susceptible, how transmittable this was and how it could be spread so easily. Did that come because of lies out of China? It looks that way. And was WHO involved in pushing those lies? It looks that way, too.
The president's made it clear. The president makes it clear. He has seen evidence to exactly that point. Tom, let's talk about Christopher Wray. He's under some considerable heat. Congressman Andy Biggs, Congressman Jim Jordan. They mean to find out what in the hell he is doing. But frankly, I've watched him throughout. stonewall every agency, Congress, and do so with a arrogant smirk on his face as he did. And now the questions about General Flynn make it absolutely critical that he be investigated.
The worst corruption in the FBI's history arguably has been around the abuse of Trump, people like General Flynn and others. And FBI Director Wray just gives it a shrug of his shoulders, saying, well, we'll have better training of our FBI agents who really had nothing to do with it, in the sense that it was the FBI leadership at the top levels in D.C. That were pushing this corruption through the corrupt FISA process. He knew, or should have known, about what went on with Flynn. Right now, there's 8,000 documents, 8,000 pages of records they're still sitting on between Page and Strzok emails. The FBI under Wray has taken the position that no text messages that Page sent out, Strzok sent out, McCabe sent out, or anyone else sent out, is subject to FOIA. The cover-up is continuing under Director Wray. To me, it's unacceptable. Attorney General Barr needs to step in and just take the documents. I mean, this is just ought not to be a choice. If there's a criminal investigation going on, why does the FBI have any flexibility here? We wouldn't if we were under investigation. Is the FBI under investigation for this criminal conduct or not? If so, then why haven't the agency's servers been taken from the agency by the prosecutors, Mr. Durham? That's the way a criminal investigation is done. But I don't think we're seeing a criminal investigation. I think we're seeing an administrative review that may result in a crime here or there being prosecuted, but nothing serious. I'm tired of it, Lou. We got to call it as it is.
Well, absolutely. And Tom, I do think this just may be the FBI's view of some kind of reciprocity. They didn't want to disturb the DNC and actually look at their servers, directly. So perhaps they feel that no one should look at their servers. I guess it's some sort of weird swamp arrangement. But as you say, not one worth putting up with, not for another minute. Tom Fitton, great to have you with us, President of Judicial Watch.